Welcome to Biology Made Easy. Today we are discussing biodiversity, specifically introduction to biodiversity. We are looking at concepts or types of biodiversity and why biodiversity matter. Now, biodiversity, bio is life, diversity is variety or differences. So biodiversity is all the variety of life, as you see in the shots. You have plants, animals, fungi, microorganisms, which you can't see, but they are there. All that life and their interaction form biodiversity. So for a scientist to study or investigate biodiversity thoroughly, it's better to study not individuals but group individuals into species. Species are similar organisms. So if I use this my drawing here, I can say 1, 2, 3, 4 form one species. Species are a group of organisms that are similar morphologically, physiologically, and they can interbreed to produce fertile offspring. One species cannot interbreed with another species. So it's better to group the organism into species. So organisms are grouped into species, and that becomes species diversity. Then scientists find out the alleles of the genes in the ecosystem or in a habitat. That becomes genetic variation because of differences in variation because of the alleles, and that becomes genetic diversity. Then scientists compare ecosystems. For instance, this one forms an ecosystem. That you see is an ecosystem, another ecosystem, and the ecosystems are different because different species dominate different ecosystems. So that becomes ecosystem diversity. Then scientists find out the functions of the various species in a place, so that study becomes functional diversity. Then scientists also decide to find out the evolutionary links among various species, species that are extinct, species that are still living, the evolutionary links, and that becomes phylogenetic diversity. So this is what forms the concepts of biodiversity. All these form the concepts or types of biodiversity. So if we hear about concepts, ideas of biodiversity, this is it: species diversity, genetic diversity, ecosystem diversity, functional diversity, phylogenetic diversity. Why biodiversity matter? The life of man and all other organisms depend upon it. Now, we get food, and you have plants giving out oxygen, animals giving out carbon dioxide. So you have oxygen, carbon dioxide balance. And so that is for air, water. We have transpiration and evaporation that finally go to the clouds to form water and rain that man uses. Food, of course. So these three very serious basic life-giving substances are found from biodiversity beside the other resources. Then the life of all organisms depend on biodiversity. So biodiversity really matters. Then you have climate, that's the weather, and all that depends on biodiversity. The cycles, carbon cycle, oxygen cycle, nitrogen cycle, all involves living organisms. And so the climate and the atmosphere, it all depends on biodiversity. You have the soil state of soil depends on biodiversity, because the soil, you have animals causing weathering and also decomposition of animal matter, all creates soil. So the soil state, natural disasters affect biodiversity. tsunamis, earthquakes, they all wipe out some biodiversity. And then man's infrastructural developments affect biodiversity. And so man should investigate and study biodiversity so that man can keep the various species safe. Man can devise methods that notice and protect endangered species and endemic species. Endemic species are species that are found in only specific areas. Man can put up measures to prevent accidental or deliberate transfer of foreign species into foreign habitats. Well, so biodiversity matter because of all this, and so man does study biodiversity to be able to put up conservation methods to protect biodiversity. A very important reason why biodiversity matters is when biodiversity is lost, it can never be replaced. It's irreplaceable. Even if one species gets lost, gets extinct. So biodiversity matters to be protected. Well, this is what time will allow us for today. If the lesson has been useful, give us your thumbs and kindly do subscribe. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.